Today, 5 signs that only happen to twin flames. So how this video is going to work, I'm going to list off the 5 signs, boom, 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 and then watch to the end because I'm going to explain each sign. So when I tell you, when I list them off that way, it might not make sense to you. So listen to the description for each one, because you're trying to figure out if this is your twin flame, and I want to make sure that you get it. So listen to the detailed explanations as well. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Kurt. I'm the world's #1 twin flame coach. I've personally coached over 7,000 twin flame students to date. You're going to get something a little bit different than what you've heard before about this very confusing topic, twin flames. So here are the signs. Number 1, the obsessive thinking. And I'm not talking about just thinking a little bit more than usual. It's called obsessive thinking for a reason. And I've got a really great way to explain to you how you can tell that it qualifies as obsessive thinking, like, yeah, this is your twin flame for sure, versus just kind of having a bad day, or if it's like an ordinary breakup, right? Because a lot of this stuff that we're going to talk about, these are things that happen after the initial breakup, right? So stay tuned. All right, so that's number 1. Number 2, the running and chasing. Now I'm going to go deeper into that and explain to you like what happens like further along too, when they kind of come back and they move away and then they come back again and they move away, and what that's like and how you can tell like no, this qualifies as a twin flame situation, because other people, they tend to not do that with you, or if they do, it's just narcissism or something like that. And I want you to know the difference, right? The running and chasing, and how that kind of works and how you can use that to tell. Okay, number 3, knowing. And I don't mean understanding like with your mind. It's a knowing. And I've got a really great way to explain to you how would I know that I'm experiencing this knowing. It's like an intuition, right? It's not thinking, it's not understanding, it's something else. And like I said, I've got a really good way for you to discern the difference between what I'm talking about and what everybody else is talking about when they say, oh, I just know. Like it's mental usually when they're talking about it. This is something else. And I've got a really bulletproof way to explain that to you. Like, how would I know I was experiencing this knowing that you speak of if I was? Well, you're going to know for sure by the time I'm done with you. Number 4, you feel them. Has this ever happened to you? And some of the stuff that we're going to talk about in this video, by the way, guys, you might not have experienced all of this stuff yet, but if it's your twin flame, you probably will. You probably will. So watch, like I said, watch to the end and maybe just remember this video, save it or something, because in another 6 months or something, some of this stuff might happen to you, like feeling them, like you're with them physically or something. That's number 4. Okay? And you're going to remember this video and you're going to be like, shit, it is my twin flame, right? Okay, number 5, doubt, which is mental. So number 3 was knowing, which is not mental. But number 5 is doubt, which is mental. And I'm going to show you how to discern between those two things. And I'm even going to go a little long in this video. You might notice this video looks to be a little bit long, but I'm doing that on purpose because, like I said, I'm going to give you a detailed breakdown so that you can know for sure if this is your twin flame. So we're going to talk science today, guys. And that's the thing that people like about me, is I'm the twin flame science guy. I'm the guy that's going, wait a minute. Yeah, this is real. You're not crazy. You're not making this up. Yes, this is real. And we can demonstrate that. And I can even explain to you why, showing you the mechanisms that are causing these things. It's not just whatever in the heck you want it to be, right? It is a certain thing. And I think that's kind of what you're beginning to realize about this is it's not made up and it's not whatever anybody wants it to be. You seem to be getting consistent things going on, and you're kind of searching through information on the internet about it, and you're finding some consistencies, but then it seems like people add a bunch of other dogmatic kind of stuff to it. And that's what I take away on this YouTube channel when it comes to twin flames. And that's why I'm the #1 twin flame coach, because I'm over here explaining to you that you don't need the dogmatic stuff. You don't need the confusing stuff. This is very simple, actually. And we're going to start with body, mind, soul. For you to understand these 5 signs, we got to do a real quick back to basics teaching on spiritualism. And I mean real spiritualism. So if you look around on the internet for information about spiritualism, you're going to get a lot of stuff. And then they put the label spiritual on it. But is that what that is? The modern day Buddha, Eckhart Tolle, right? Yeah, well, he's not going to talk to you about all the confusing stuff. Crystals, healing, incense, astrology, clearing your chakras, balancing your inner feminine and masculine, healing your inner childhood wounds, the violet flame chant, the mirror exercise, all this. And that stuff on its own, those are not bad things. We're not saying that those are bad, but they're not really spiritual. So what does Eckhart Tolle have to say about it? Well, the same thing that all the other great enlightened masters have to say about it. All of the enlightened masters who everybody recognizes are the enlightened masters. Buddha, Jesus, Paramahansa Yogananda, Krishnamurti, Ram Dass, Rupert Spira, Alan Watts, right? And of course, Eckhart Tolle. They're all going to tell you the same thing. You are consciousness. So if I was to ask you, who are you beyond the body and beyond the mind? You're going to say, well, I'm a soul. At least that's what everybody says, right? But what is that, really? What is that? Who are you beyond thought forms and emotions? That's the mind. And again, we're not saying that the mind is bad. We're not saying any of this stuff is good or bad. We're just saying that's what that is, right? That is the mind. It's thoughts, emotions, right? Body, mind, soul, right? That's what we're talking about. Like I said, for you to get these 5 signs, you're going to have to get this back to basics stuff. But who are you beyond thought forms, beliefs, emotions? What is the soul really? It's consciousness. And if you want to know what I'm talking about right now, try this out. Have you ever said to yourself, why am I thinking this? Or why am I feeling this way? Everybody does that, right? Right. Well, who's asking? Who's asking? How is it that there is a you who can be aware of thinking? What is the awareness of the thinking? Right. The only answer that seems to make sense is me. I guess that's me, right? You are this still, silent witness of thought and emotion. And that's exactly what all the great spiritual masters are going to tell you. The name of the first chapter of Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, is called You Are Not Your Mind. And if you listen to Ram Dass or Yogananda or any of them talk about spiritualism, that's essentially what they're going to tell you. You are not the ego mind. You are not that. You are consciousness. That's the soul, guys. The consciousness, That's who you really are. And what does everybody say about twin flames? And I mean everybody. No matter what they're telling you to do, what they are telling you is that twin flames are the same soul. So everybody's on the same page on the internet. When you're looking at twin flame information, everybody's on the same page. Everybody says it. Twin flames are the same soul. Well, if we all agree about what twin flames are, what's the problem? Like why do you seem to be getting all of this different advice from everybody about it? Right, that doesn't make any sense. If we all agree about what a twin flame is, why is there all this confusion? Well, guys, it's because it's the first mistake anybody makes on their spiritual awakening, trying to understand spiritualism. Guys, you got to understand. This is a remembrance of self. And when you embrace that instead of your twin flame comes back. Now, that's body, mind, soul. The mind is thinking, emotion. The soul is the conscious observer of the body and the mind. It is an experience. Like if you sit in stillness and meditate, and again, realizing that you are the awareness of thinking. The thinking is noisy, but the observer, you, is very still and very quiet. And guys, that's what this is all about. So that brings me to sign number 1, the obsessive thinking. Oh my God. Guys, this is a dead giveaway. So your twin flame, you meet them, they come in, it's all romantic, it's all wonderful. You call it the bubble love phase. Happens to everybody at the very beginning. This is usually anywhere between 4 and 8 weeks, right? They pull away, they have some excuse, or they don't give you any excuse, they just go, right? And instantly you go into a tailspin, and it doesn't take very long. I mean, by the end of a week after the initial breakup, maybe a week, you are in a panic, and there's all this obsessive thinking going on. And after a while, maybe a few weeks or a month of the obsessive thinking, you stop and you go, wait a minute. This is not normal. Guys, you're clear that you have never been through a breakup like this before. Never, ever. Oh man, I have never been so triggered in my life. And here's the thing about the obsessive thinking. It's like it's happening to you. You cannot turn it off, right? So with a normal breakup, here's an analogy that I came up with. Think of the tachometer on a car, right? So you got the speedometer telling you the speed, and then you've got the tachometer telling you how fast the engine is running, right? Right? Okay. So after a normal breakup, you're triggered, you're upset, right? Doesn't matter who caused the breakup, you're still going to be upset, right? But there's going to be excessive thinking. I wouldn't say obsessive thinking. So excessive thinking is like the tachometer is going, right? That's excessive thinking because you just got dumped. But after a week or two, it kind of starts to slow down. You go back to normal, and you get out of bed one day and you're like, that sucks, whatever. I'm over it, right? Not this time, my friends. No way. The tachometer is going, smoke coming out of the engine, and there's springs and gears flying everywhere out of the dashboard. The tachometer is spinning and spinning around. Sound about right? And if you've ever been dumped before, now you have some context, don't you? And that's one of the things that today's video is all about, that again, I wanted to remind you of, is that some of the stuff that we're going to talk about more in depth here, the other 4 signs, like I said, you might not be experiencing these things yet. So if you're not sure after watching this video, that's okay. Like I said, just save it. And maybe in a month, 3 months, 6 months, maybe some of these things will happen to you. And you can come back and watch this video and you're going to know. So for you to make a determination about whether this is your twin flame or not, you have to have some context. There has to be a chain of events that take place, right? So there's this video. I'm going to make another video also next week. I'm going to make a redo of my 5 true signs you met your twin flame video. I think it's going to be longer, maybe like 7 signs or something like that. I'm going to make like a be all and end all, and I'm going to go more in depth into the Kundalini, because that's another thing that happens to most of you, almost all, if you really met your twin flame. So we're going to do an even deeper dive next week, and I'll probably reference this video in next week's video too. Okay, so that's the obsessive thinking. It's not like a normal breakup. It's not like normal, like excessive thinking, like after a breakup. It's obsessive. And it just seems to go on and on, right? For months. It's fucking weird. Because like I said, it's like it's happening to you. It's like it's being done to you. Somebody might tell you, well, you just got to take them off your mind, man. You just got to stop thinking about them. And you're like, well, cool. Thank you, Captain Obvious. I know that. I can't stop thinking. I don't know where the off switch is, right? It's obsessive thinking. It's weird. It's fucking weird. It's never happened to me before or since. And if it has happened to you before, just kind of file that away in your mind, that's maybe a minus. It maybe isn't your twin flame. If you're the kind of person that gets that way, I've come across a couple of people where they were like that, and nice enough people, but I thought, well, maybe they need therapy. Maybe that's what's going on, because I get that a lot, you guys. I don't mean to be offensive or anything like that. It's just, I don't know who I'm talking to. I deal literally with thousands of people. And I know there's people that haven't really met their twin flame. There's people who just had kind of a bad breakup, and they think they hear about all this traumatic stuff, and they think that's all they need to know. Like, I tell them about the traumatic part, and they go, oh yeah, that's definitely my twin flame. It has to be all of the stuff that we're going to talk about in today's video and next week's video. It has to be all of the stuff, guys, or at least most of it. And I mean most of it, like, if I come up, let's say, with 12 different things, it's got to be 10 or 11 out of 12, right? So it's not just the negative obsessive parts. Okay, let's move on. Number 2, the running and chasing. Now, I said I was going to go deeper into this. So, again, context. Have you been doing this for a while? The longer that you've dealt with your twin flame person, the better you're going to be able to tell if it's really a twin flame. Even a year, like if you've been doing this for a year, have they come back several times and then ran away? Now, here's the thing about the running and chasing. So there's the initial breakup, right? There's the bubble phase at the beginning. You meet them. There's the bubble phase, and then the initial breakup, and they pull away and you crash. And here we go with the obsessive thinking and the desperation and all that fun stuff. Okay. So let's say one day you get out of bed and you go, you know what? I'm done. Right? Like the obsessive thinking kind of slows down, and you just get out of bed one day and you've got this resolve and you're like, that's it. I'm moving on. You know what? I'm never going to talk to them again. I'm all the way done. And you really feel that way too. You really feel like done. Like, I'm moving on. Fuck it. Right? You really do feel that. Later that day or the next day, no more than a day or two, maybe 3. 3 is pushing it. You hear from them. Haven't heard from them for a while, or if you have been talking to them, they start acting different. Like they really want to see you, like really bad, and they want to touch you and kiss you and hold your hand and stuff. And they start sending you selfies and love confessions. So let me make sure you understand this. Let me cover this again. You start to feel better after the initial breakup. The initial breakup starts all the obsessive thinking and the dark night of the soul, and it sucks. And then you start to feel better after a few months or whatever. And then one day you get out of bed and you go, that's it, I'm moving on. And then within 72 hours, they come back and they really want to talk to you. Or you see them around town. You run into them. Or they unblock you and start stalking your profile on social media. They don't quite reach out. And this might happen several times. Let's say they come all the way back and you guys are talking and you go on a date, right? So again, this is right after you say, that's it, I'm done, I'm moving on. And then they come right back. You guys go on a date, the energy builds up again and they pull away and you're triggered again. Not as bad this time. But again, you're triggered. Go into another kind of a tailspin, maybe not quite as bad. And then let's just say this all happens again. After another month, you get out of bed one day and you go, God, fuck that. I am never talking to them again. I am really done this time. And they come right back. They start coming back. Now, if this was a narcissist, they would be at some point projecting a sense of entitlement onto you. There has to be gaslighting. And that's not to say that there cannot be narcissistic traits, because everybody's got them. But this is something I hear all the time from people. Well, how do I know my twin flame's not just a narcissist? It has to be a pathology. Okay, there has to be, like, you're going to have to spend more time learning about narcissism, I think, okay, for you to really make that determination. And I'm not a psychologist, but it's, for it to be narcissism, there has to be a consistent pattern of those types of things, even during the love bombing phase, right? And you could confuse the running and chasing with narcissism, but here's the difference. Here's how you can tell it's not narcissism. Because you experience an internal shift and they don't know about it. You feel inside one day, I'm really done. And they can have you blocked. You have no way to get a hold of them and you feel a shift inside. You get out of bed and you're like, I'm fucking all the way done. If they come back, great, but I don't care. And then boom, they come back like that and you haven't even been talking to them. Guys, that's not narcissism. For that to be narcissism, they would have to have some contact with you and realize that you pulled away. That's when they're going to try to suck you back in. They call it hoovering with narcissism. Okay, I'm talking about an internal, like a spiritual internal shift that they had no knowledge of. Okay? If that happens and they come back right away, it's your twin flame, guys. Okay? So you hear people on the internet talking about how you got to detach. That's kind of what that is. There's a deeper philosophical teaching to detaching, which actually relates to the words union and separation. Okay? Most people don't really know in the twin flame community what those words really are. Most people in the twin flame community think that union and separation are like a relationship status with your twin flame or a stage that you've got to get through. That's not what those words are. Those are actually states of consciousness. Now, I made a video specifically about that. If you'd like to learn more, I'm going to link it down in the description box for you. There's a link to that video. I strongly encourage you to go watch that video. And as a matter of fact, I strongly encourage you to go to the playlist on my YouTube channel. It's called The True Twin Flame Teachings. There's a playlist on my YouTube channel called The True Twin Flame Teachings. It's all free, guys. Just watch the first, 15 or 20 videos. And you're going to start to get it. You're going to start to get what I'm talking about here. The way that I teach twin flames is very different. And the reason it's different is because I said your twin flame is your soul. You got to do soul stuff, okay? The mind is what gets attached because the mind is separation. Okay, that's the proper use of that word. The mind is a state of consciousness called separation. And because it perceives otherness, something else which is separate from it, it has something to get attached to. So, union comes from unity consciousness, right? When you transcend, as in transcendentalism, when you transcend the separation of ego, that's detaching. They call that unity consciousness. That's where the word union came from. And you don't experience that you are separate from your twin flame. You feel like you are them. This brings me to sign number 3, knowing. And this is where the knowing comes from. Now, I'm not going to go too terribly deep into the science in this video. I've got plenty of videos about that already. I'm the science guy. This is why your twin flame is running. It's because you're polarized at the level of the mind. Remember, you are a 3-part being, body, mind, soul. Now, who you really are is the soul. But as long as you're incarnated in the physical body, you have a mind and a body. And because of the second law of thermodynamics, they run. They run because you are polarized at the level of the mind. So the harder you think about this, the more healing and violet flame chant and mirror exercise and sending love energy to your twin flame and all this, the more you do that, the harder they run. The more that you mentally and emotionally focus on them, the harder they run because you are polar opposites with your twin flame. That's where the yin-yang symbol comes from, you guys, okay? The yin-yang symbol is talking about mind and physical forms, okay? The source, which is a lot closer to what the soul is not duality. It's non-duality. Now, the source is ultimate reality, but you could say that your soul is like a little holographic fractal reproduction of the source, right? You could say that your soul is. So the soul is not duality, it's one. It's single, it's oneness, it's unity, union. It's that oneness, okay? And what's interesting is science, they've got similar lingo. They have, so in the discipline of science, like to describe the yin-yang, well, they call it relativity, right? Albert Einstein, he's the one who realized that that's the way our universe kind of functions. And in psychology, they'll tell you the mind is duality. Psychologists, they're going to tell you that. The mind is duality, dual, yin-yang, this, that, good, bad, right, wrong, plus, minus, right? And then, of course, where the universe came from is the one, the single, right? The singularity. That's what they're going to tell you in science. So this is a real thing, guys. Like I said, you're not crazy. You're not crazy. There is an explanation. It's just another incarnation of your soul, your twin flame. So this is where the knowing comes from, okay? It's intuition, right? So you got your higher self up here in heaven. Totally fine to call it that, right? But it's the energy part of the universe, okay? It's one of these higher planes. There's several higher planes, planes, right? And even, again, conventional physics is proving the existence of higher planes, and they're starting to realize that, yeah, you just keep going on forever and ever. There's all these higher planes. And that's where you go when you do the thing that we call die, right? You leave your body and you return to this formless higher plane. Now, from this higher plane, There is no experience of linear time. All moments in time happen simultaneously. And by the way, that's what physics says about higher planes. And again, this is stuff that spiritual teachers, they've been talking about this for a long, long time, you guys. Reincarnation is a widely accepted phenomenon. Widely accepted. Okay, and there's lots of stories about reincarnation, you guys. Lots and lots of stories about that. But this diagram here, this is showing you, okay, these are all individual incarnations, right? So there's past lives, there's future reincarnations, right? And then this is you and your twin flame right here. So your twin flame is really just another incarnation of your soul. Now, the knowing that I speak of is intuition. You can get information about the future, about your twin flame. You know things about them. You know things about the future. You know that they are your twin flame, and it's this weird, eerie knowing. Okay, it's not mental. You don't understand. You don't see things. And I just made a video about this a week or two ago called Twin Flame Telepathy. I'll link that video down below for you too. So the difference between telepathy, which happens up here in your mind, and intuition, which is a knowing, okay? And you can get intuition about your twin flame all day long, all right? And here's the example that I often use to explain intuition to people. Like, how would I know I was experiencing intuition if I was? It feels just like deja vu. Feels just like it. It feels just like deja vu. So with deja vu, let me see if I can find this other diagram. Excuse me. Allergy season. All right, so deja vu, kind of the same thing. So for the red dots, I've replaced different reincarnations that you've lived, which again, the higher self is experiencing all of these simultaneously, because from these higher planes, there is no linear time. Linear time is something that you experience in the first person, right? But ultimate reality, yeah, that's not a thing. It all runs together, okay? And again, this is what science is saying about higher planes. This is even what I'm saying. And by the way, guess what spiritual teachers have said about it? Same thing. And they've been talking about it for thousands of years. Science is finally starting to prove all of this cool stuff. And all the spiritual masters are looking at them going, it's about time you figured it out, right? Because they've been talking about it for a long time. So in this diagram, we're going to replace all of the individual incarnations with individual points in time in this life, right? So that's what all these red dots are points in time in this life. And that's the thing, guys. Like, when you get deja vu, it's because you have been here before. Your higher self knew about that a year ago. Your higher self, it knew that you would be here at this moment. And so that's when you get deja vu, you have this knowing. Okay, that's coming from here. That's coming from your higher self, from this higher plane. And that's the thing about deja vu that's so strange, is you don't understand it. Okay, so when deja vu is happening, it goes something like this. The knowing starts, you know I've done this before, and so that's one thing that's going on. And then the second thing that's going on is also thoughts about the deja vu. And so some of those thoughts are usually going to be like, whoa, this is deja vu, or wait, did I do this yesterday? Maybe I did do this yesterday. Or did I do it a week ago? Maybe I dreamt it, right? This is deja vu. What's going on? That's all mental chatter, talking, thinking, trying to understand the knowing. So there's two things going on because they are coming from two places. The knowing is coming from your soul, the higher self in heaven. The thinking is from the mind. That's deja vu. Well, guess what? Intuition, same thing. It's just the information is different. With deja vu, the information is telling you You've been here before because you have. And then with intuition, again, the information is something about the future, something that's true for you, or something about somebody else. Right? Like, this is my twin flame. I just know it. I just fucking know it. I know that's what this is, right? Like the first time you ever saw the words twin flame on the internet or heard someone tell you that, you instantly, didn't you? You were like, that's it. That's it. I know that's what that is. And it's irrational because there's no conceptual mental explanation for how you know that. But you don't need to. You don't need that. It's a knowing. You just know. And the knowing, those stronger intuitive hits that you get, they feel just like deja vu. It has that same like character of feel to it. It feels the same way that deja vu feels, this intuition. It's just, again, the information is different. It's telling you, this is my twin flame, or they're going to come back, or we're going to be together, or whatever it is, right? And I got those too, guys. I got those too. Now, this dovetails in very nicely with the next talking point, number 4, which is you feel them. You feel your twin flame. And if this hasn't happened to you, it probably will. Again, context, tuck this video away, come back in a year. And then again, there's also, so next week's video will be designed to give you a more firm answer like now. And I do already have videos on my True Twin Flame Teachings playlist about, here's 5 signs you met your twin flame. And they're pretty good. They're pretty good. Next week's video is going to be that like bulletproof, like I've been doing this for so long, 7,000 coaching students. I really know how to explain this. It's going to be the be all end all, kind of video. But yeah, go watch that video too. The 5 signs if you want to, then next week's video. And you got to have all the signs, guys. It can't just be the running and chasing and the painful stuff, the crying yourself to sleep. That's not enough. It has to be almost all of these things, all right, for you to be really sure it's your twin flame, especially when you detach, when you say, fuck it, and you really feel that, you feel this resolve, like I'm really done. And then they come back right away, right? Like they unblock you and they start stalking your Facebook profile or whatever, or they call you even, right? So that's like a smoking fucking gun right there. But there's other stuff in that video which should make it more clear to you. So go check it out. Go watch that video, the 5 true signs. And then of course, next week's video, I think it's going to be 7 signs or something like that. But yeah, this one here, number 4, you feel them. Like one time I felt like she was physically laying on top of me and she's in another town like 30 miles away, right? This was back in the day, 5-6 years ago. And yeah, it was like that. It was like she was physically laying on top of me. There's people I've talked to that said they felt like they were having intercourse with their twin flame too. And I think what's really going on is it is a mental creation. I don't think that they are actually there with you. Maybe, but the thing is, you can feel them intuitively. We just talked about that. You can feel stuff like that if it's that knowing, right? And again, it feels like deja vu. Like, how would I know I was experiencing intuition or this knowing if I was? How would I know? Right, so that's why I explained it's just like deja vu, but I don't remember it that way. I don't know what the cause is. I am not convinced that it's actually them, because there's no them, you guys. That's the thing, is there's not other. Like the truth of you is that there's not 2 of you. You are already not separate. You are not the body and you are not the mind, guys. You are this. That's who you really are. And again, it's an experience. You don't become that, okay? You experience yourself as awareness. Remember that? We talked about that? You experience yourself, okay? You don't think your way there. This is beyond mind. This is beyond thinking. And to feel them, there has to be a them. So what I really think is going on is it's your mind playing tricks on you. And the addictive energy with your twin flame, it's like no other, you guys. I coach my paid coaching students on how to shut off the addictive tendencies with your twin flame. That's a huge part of this, guys, is getting out of that. That's really tough. I have them do like a full detox to do that. But I'm convinced it's like a high-tech weapon that your mind is using against you to keep you addicted to the person. Because the mind is externalized. It thinks it needs the person to feel better. And what I teach you to do is get out of that and go in here. And when you do that, that's when your twin flame comes back for good, right? There might be a little bit of back and forth for a while, but they'll come back. So I think that's what that is. That makes more sense to me, that it's mental. And if it's mental, then it's an illusion of the mind. It's a trick of the mind. The mind is just trying to trick you to keep you focused on the person, which is what makes them run, by the way. So I felt them with me, though. There's no them. You can't feel them. There's no them, okay? There's just you. There's not two of you. There's just you. You are them. You are your twin flame, guys. There's just them. That's all this is. That's all this is, you guys. Okay, sign number 5, doubt. Now, this is mental, the doubt. It is mental, unlike the knowing. Because some people, you might hear me say, you know they're your twin flame. And then I say, you doubt that they're your twin flame. And then they go, Kurt, that sounds like a contradiction. It's not a contradiction. The knowing is coming from the soul, and that you can trust, 100%. The doubt is coming from the mind because, again, the mind is separation. The mind tells you that there are two. There's me and there's them, but there's not a them. That's an illusion, the illusion of form, guys. And side note, I mean, this is all an illusion up to a point until you go play in traffic or jump off a cliff or something like that. Yeah, don't do that stuff. But ultimate reality is called ultimate reality for a reason. So separation is not actually our true state, guys. Okay, we are not all separate. So the doubt, the reason this is a good sign is because there are people on the intranet that I see all the time, especially the twin flame couples. I'm going to link a video down below for you about twin flame couples. They're just confused, guys. They're not actually twin flames. They are soulmates, and that's beautiful, and I'm happy for them. But they heard the term twin flame, and they think, oh, that sounds nice and romantic. And everybody does that. I told that to my grandma one time. All I did was tell her I'm a twin flame coach, and she goes, oh, that's nice. You met your special person, huh? Right. It just, twin flames sounds romantic, right? So they're just confused, guys. But here's the thing. You can't talk them out of it. You can't talk them out of it. They just know they met their twin flame and they never doubt it for a minute. But you do. And you did meet your twin flame. Because your whole internal space is going all fucking weird and haywire, right? And haven't you asked yourself, am I just going crazy? Maybe this isn't real. Maybe I didn't meet my twin flame. But the soulmate couples who think that they are twin flames, they don't doubt it. Because they think twin flames is like a really good soulmate or something, right? No. So doubt is actually a very good indicator that you've actually met your twin flame. So there you go, guys. There's the 5 true signs that only happen to twin flames. Again, next week's video, same thing. I'm going to recap some of this stuff, but there's going to be a lot of new stuff too in that video. So you don't want to miss out on that one, guys. Yeah, again, check out my free resources, the True Twin Flame Teachings. You can also check out my website, newworldallstar.com. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next week.